Facebook, Archery Group X. New to bow hunting, which broadhead is the best? Send. Bling. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, my name is Trent and I appreciate you coming to watch this video. If you have been here before, I appreciate you coming back. We're going to talk about broadhead selection in my new to bow hunting series today. And I created this series because I see a lot of people ask questions on social media about what equipment is best for them as a new bow hunter, and they get extremely biased answers. I want to give you unbiased information to help educate you so you can further make those decisions to the best of your ability, which is what really matters. Broadhead selection is a very sticky subject. It's something that a lot of people are very opinionated on, and for some reason it causes a lot of divisiveness in the hunting community. So I want to start this off by telling you the #1 secret of broadhead selection. What everyone else shoots versus what you shoot doesn't matter, provided you're doing your absolute best to be as ethical and lethal in the woods as possible. Period. It doesn't matter if Jack, Jim, Joe, Jeff, and Frank shoot Rage and you want to shoot Slick Trick. It doesn't matter if you shoot Rage and all those people shoot Slick Trick. As long as you're doing your part to be as ethical and lethal as possible in the woods, that's all you need to worry about. So, with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about all the different broadheads, and I've shot and used and tested a lot. I'm going to talk about all the different types of broadheads, the pros and cons of each, and hopefully you can use that information to make your own selections. I'm going to warn you, this is an information heavy video. I will do my absolute best to keep it lighthearted and fun, but it can get a little dredgy and want to rip your eyes out at times. Please try to stick with me. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer them. So there's nowadays there's 3 basic categories of broadhead. There are fixed blades, like this fella here. There are mechanicals, like this fella here, and a mechanical basically just means that the blades move, or the broadhead functions in a way to open when it makes impact with the game. And then there's what's called a hybrid, and it's going to take me probably a second to find a hybrid. Oh, nope, got one right here. There's a hybrid. And a hybrid means it's got a fixed blade and it's got a mechanical portion. So those are your 3 basic categories of broadheads. There's not been anything that comes out that really breaks the mold. That's where it starts to get sticky though, because there are a ton of different options in those categories. So I want to start with fixed blade broadheads and why you would choose them, and then we'll delve deeper into fixed blades as to which one to choose for your goals. So something to keep in mind when you're picking a broadhead in general is you want to know what your bow poundage is, what your draw length is, and preferably you want to know your arrow weight. And the reason you want to know your arrow weight is because you also want to know your arrow speed. And you want to use those to calculate both kinetic energy and momentum. Now, from a bow hunting standpoint, my opinion is that momentum is the most important calculation. Momentum is the calculation of energy it takes. Your arrow is carrying, so it's basically how hard it is to stop your arrow. Kinetic energy is the calculation of potential energy your arrow has. Both are important, but in my opinion, momentum is the most important. You want to get that momentum number as high as possible. So you want a fast, heavy projectile. So let's say you as a new bow hunter don't want to get into that deep of grass, because it can get pretty freaking deep. Say you just want to pick a broadhead and you want to go out and you want to hunt. I would recommend a fixed blade broadhead. And the reason why is because under normal circumstances, a fixed blade broadhead is going to outpenetrate a mechanical broadhead and a hybrid broadhead 10 out of 10 times. Now, of course, there's freak accidents and there's that small percentile, but in general, a fixed blade broadhead will always penetrate better. So, we're going to look at a few different types of fixed blades. Some that are easily available, some in what would be considered standard broadhead weights, and some that are more expensive, a little bit less available, and have different advantages. So for my idea of like a standard easily available broadhead is this guy right here. It's the G5 Montec. This one happens to be an M3, which in my opinion is the best iteration of all the Montecs. If you were going to shoot a Montec, this is the one I would recommend. This is a standard 3-blade cut broadhead. It's a fixed blade. This one is 100 grains. I believe these come in 100 and 125. They're very simple to use. They're plenty sharp, and they can be sharpened even more. Granted, there are other broadheads that can be sharper, but these will definitely do the job. And they're pretty much available almost anywhere. It's kind of a classic standby. They penetrate great, they're plenty durable, they're good to use. So if you were to go out as a new bow hunter and just grab a broadhead off the shelf, I would recommend something like this. Like a Montec. Another great option is a Slick Trick Standard or a Slick Trick Magnum. And why are these great options? Well, they're great options because they tend to fly really close to your field points. One downside of broadheads and new bow hunters is that usually a new bow hunter isn't familiar with how to tune their bow, and sometimes they don't have a good shop available to help them. If you have a good shop available, use that resource. They will help you 100% set your bow up the best it can be, and that's really important. If you don't have a shop available, online, on YouTube, all over YouTube here and other online sources, there's a ton of great tuning information. The downside is sometimes you need a bow press, and you may not always have one of those available. So you as a new bow hunter, we'll say your bow is properly tuned because you have a great shop nearby and they hooked you up. You want to shoot a fixed blade broadhead, something you're going to pull off the shelf to be just as lethal as possible. Grab this M3, go screw it on. 9 times out of 10, this broadhead is going to shoot right with your field points. Now, as you delve deeper into bow hunting, broadhead options are going to become more plentiful to you, and you'll get into some crazy stuff, and you'll get into some cool stuff, and you'll get into some heavy stuff. Now, as I explained or tried to explain just there, the reason we choose fixed blade broadheads is we want high penetration. And there's a gentleman called Dr. Ashby who's done a ton of studying on broadhead lethality and arrow lethality and how to build the most lethal arrow. And in his studies, he found that a broadhead that has a mechanical advantage of 3-to-1, which basically means for every 3 inches it is tall, it's 1 inch wide, is the best for penetration. There are a couple companies that use this to build their broadheads. One such is Toughhead. Now this is a Toughhead. These are what I shoot on my recurve. And the downside to Toughhead is this is a very heavy broadhead. This particular one in front of me is 265 grains. The lightest they make, I believe, is 180 grains. And the average broadhead weight is anywhere from 100 to 125. That's slowly shifting heavier as time goes, but it's still 100 to 125 is what you're going to find most easily available. So this is something you're going to have to order online. Also, this is going to take some special arrow tuning and building and bow tuning on your part to get this to shoot right. Mostly in the arrow department, but you might have to change a few things on your bow. So take that in consideration. You can absolutely shoot these, but it's going to take more work on your end. Now, if you want something that's going to penetrate pretty much anything, there is no better option than a 3-to-1 mechanical advantage broadhead like the Toughhead. There's also a company called Simmons. Now Simmons makes a really odd broadhead design, or it's not odd, it's just different from what you're mostly going to find. This is called the Tree Shark. This is a fixed blade broadhead with a mechanical broadhead size cut. This has a 2 1/16 inch cut, or this is a 2 1/16 inch cut. It's 190 grains, so again, we're talking heavy like the Toughhead, so there's going to be some tuning on your end. And if you're looking for a really big cut out of your broadhead, but you still want good penetration, I don't think you're going to find any better option than the Simmons. Those things penetrate extremely well. I know guys that shoot these on recurves and have great luck, and normally I would never shoot anything that wide on a recurve. Then, of course, you have odd options, such as this. This is called the Crown. It's by a company called Thorn Broadheads. and it is a very odd option. So the way this is designed is the broadhead or the blade at the bottom has the largest cut-on diameter, and they progressively get smaller as you go up the broadhead. There are 4 sets of blades total, or 4 blades total. There's 8 cuts total, and if I remember right, the total cut is huge. 3.25 inches of total cutting surface area. This is going to create a large hole as a fixed blade broadhead. The downside to something like this is it might not penetrate as well as, say, something like the M3. Matter of fact, I almost guarantee the M3 is going to penetrate better. A slick trick is going to penetrate better. Heck, even the big Simmons Tree Shark is going to penetrate better than this guy, because it's going to have less drag on the blades than what this is. Excuse me. Especially going through heavy bone. For example, if you mess up and hit a shoulder blade or a knuckle, or a leg knuckle or anything like that. Do these have their place? Absolutely. Are they lethal? I'm sure they are. I've seen pictures of people that have killed things with them. For a new bow hunter, this is not something I would recommend. I recommend you start more in the M3 or the slick trick range, or Magnus makes great broadheads that are also in that category. Start there, get your bearings, and then we can grow into things like the Tough Head, the Simmons, and the Crown. So for fixed blades, that pretty much narrows it down. The thing about all these broadheads is they're not terribly, it's not a hard subject. There's just a lot going on in the subject. So after that, we're going to talk about mechanical broadheads. And mechanical broadheads such as this NAP Spitfire, or here's a good one, Grim Reaper Whitetail Special. Oh, this one's been shot and used. Those blades are stuck, which is part of the thing about mechanicals over a fixed blade we'll talk about here in just a second. Or this is an old TrueFire switchblade. There's True Glows in here. Rage is the really big mechanical that everybody knows, and I don't have any handy at the moment, but Rage is the big name that everybody knows. They're a mechanical broadhead as well. The downside to a mechanical broadhead over a fixed blade broadhead, one of them, is durability. In almost every circumstance, a fixed blade broadhead is going to be more durable than a mechanical broadhead. Another downside to a mechanical broadhead over a fixed blade broadhead is, with anything mechanical, any moving parts, there's always the opportunity for failure. Now, in my opinion, if you do your job and put the broadhead where it's supposed to go, failure is very unlikely. There's a very small percentile chance that'll happen. However, it can still absolutely happen. When you shoot a fixed blade through an animal, provided it's a quality fixed blade, the chances of failure are so minuscule they might as well be zero. I can't say the same about a mechanical. What you do gain from a mechanical is better arrow flight from an untuned bow. So if I'm going to say this as nicely as possible, if you're too lazy to learn to tune your bow properly, I would prefer you shoot a mechanical over a fixed blade, because it's going to fly better. With that said, please don't be lazy. There's so much free information. You can at least get really close, so try not to be lazy. If you want a big cut, 9 times out of 10, mechanical is going to be the best option. There's a handful of fixed blade examples that are going to kind of buck that, but in general, mechanical is going to be a better option, especially if you want a multiple blade large cut, like a 3 or 4 blade large cut. Mechanical is going to be your best option. Also, since we were talking about wind drift with arrows, that's something to take into consideration with a broadhead, and a mechanical is going to have a smaller excuse me, a mechanical is going to have a smaller profile going through the air, so less worrying about wind drift. I really think as a new bow hunter, unless you're a guy that's shooting a 70-pound bow with a 30+ inch draw length, 29-inch draw length, and you're going to really limit your shots to 30 yards and in, I really think you should start with a fixed blade. And even then, I kind of really want you to start with a fixed blade, because in my experience when I was new and starting out, I wasn't always exactly sure where to shoot at the deer. And I had a circumstance when I started using mechanical broadhead that I shot too far forward and hit a shoulder blade. And had I had a fixed blade broadhead, I feel like I would have been able to recover that deer. But because of the loss in penetration from hitting a bone with a mechanical broadhead, I feel like I lost it. And let me tell you, the worst experience, the worst feeling in the world is shooting a deer you're not able to recover. It is absolutely gut-wrenching. I've lost several hours of sleep over it in my past. And accidents happen. Nobody's a perfect bow hunter. If somebody tells you they've never lost a deer, they're either lying to your face or they've not been hunting for very long. It happens, and it sucks. So I'm trying to help you avoid that feeling. I still say start at a fixed blade. Now, as you gain experience, you learn where you're really comfortable shooting those deer and what's really lethal. By all means, delve into the mechanical world. That's something that a lot of people would probably chastise me and burn me at the stake for saying, but I feel I trust you enough as a bow hunter, especially in your learning experience, to understand the difference between smart and dumb and ethical and not. So, as you gain some experience, by all means, try some mechanicals. The last option, and I only have one of these, I believe, but the last option is a hybrid broadhead. Oh, nope, I got some other ones in here. This particular hybrid is a true blue broadhead, and it's called the Crossbreed. It's a very cool broadhead system that you're more than welcome to look up. I'll put links to like all of this stuff and some other options for you in the description if you want to check them out. They're going to be affiliate links for the most part, not all of them. And basically that just means if you click on it, you decide you want to buy it, I get a small commission. It costs you nothing extra, but you do really help the channel grow. That's my plug, I'm sorry. But the Crossbreed, this is a company out of Australia. They use US sourced and Australian parts for the most part. There's a few little things they get from China. You can't really help, like O-rings. The Crossbreed is a really cool system because it allows you to screw whatever broadhead you want in the front of it. So I have a slick trick in there now. I could take and put that M3 in there. I could put whatever. Now the downside of the Crossbreed is this portion weighs 100 grains. The broadhead you screw in adds weight to that, so you may again have to change the tuning of your bow and the build of your arrows to accommodate. I shot a deer with this last year, and in my opinion it's very worth the accommodation. But that's an example of a hybrid. Here's another example. This is a Rocky Mountain Sniper, I want to say, but don't quote me on that. I'll put a link. And basically, all a hybrid is it's got a fixed blade portion and then a mechanical blade portion. I believe I explained that earlier. These are great broadheads for somebody that is shooting high poundage, high draw weight, heavy arrow, and have a lot of penetration power. And also people that are going to limit their shooting to that 40 yard and less range. These things are absolutely devastating. The deer I shot last year with the Crossbreed had a Magnus buzz cut in the tip of it, and boy oh boy, there was a big hole with a lot of blood, and that deer did not go but 20 yards, I believe. It was a short track job with a mess of a blood trail. I was very impressed. My opinion on these is different. I believe they're more reliable than a mechanical, and that's why they were designed. Is that fixed blade portion is going to cut no matter what. So it's going to have a little bit more reliability than a mechanical. The downside is of most of your hybrid broadheads is the fixed blade portion is going to be the smaller cut. Which means if your mechanical blades fail, you're getting a very tiny cut and could potentially be a very tough blood trail. Another reason I kind of like the Crossbreed. If I screw a slick trick in, I'm getting that slick trick cut with the Crossbreed cut. If the Crossbreed fails somehow, I still get the slick trick cut. These are again something I would recommend you get a little more experience under your belt, learn where to shoot, learn your effective range very well, learn what you're capable of as far as your shooting ability and what your equipment's capable of, and then delve into that I almost put these in the mechanical category, but delve into that hybrid area and play around. You may find you like hybrids. You know, I have buddies that are diehard fixed blade guys. I have buddies who are diehard what I call extreme fixed blade, which is the really good penetration angles and the really good mechanical advantage. And I have buddies who are diehard rage guys. I have friends that shoot the entire gambit. And there's no reason that you can't also. I have played with, shot, and tested most all the broadheads that I own, and a ton of other ones that I don't anymore. I like broadheads a lot. I like to try a bunch of different stuff. I encourage you to do the same. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to drop them in the comments. My lord, I know this was a super long, drawn-out video with a lot of information. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I hope my editing here kept it light and funny and having a good time and was able to keep your attention. And as always, I so much appreciate you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Peace.